Good evening, everyone. We are now at the very last part of the last chapter of Second Kings in chapter 25. We left off in verse 25 when we were talking about what happened in the seventh month. And the people of the royal family came with 10 men and struck down Gedaliah. Remember, Gedaliah is the governor that was put in place by King Nebuchadnezzar. And he died along with the Jews and the Chaldeans who were with him at Mitzpah. That's a place a little bit south of Jerusalem. Now, this was a bad event. And when we come to verse 26, it says, then, and this would be, and then, it says, all the people from the small, and that would be the unimportant, to the great, the ones in power, and the captains of the forces that were still around of the Judah army set out and then came to Egypt, for they were afraid of the Chaldeans. There could be a repercussion. Now, I want to draw your attention very quickly to Jeremiah and in chapter 42. At this point in time, Jeremiah was there, and Jeremiah is advising the people, don't be afraid of the Chaldeans, because God has said that if you don't fight them, you'll be fine. But if you go down to Egypt, then something more devastating will happen. You think that Egypt is very strong. Well, one day the Babylonians will enter into Egypt and everyone will be killed. Jeremiah 42 gives us a background of what transpired in verse 26. Verse 27. Now, this word noun, it also reads as and then. A period of time would have passed. And it says here, it came about in the 37th year of the exile of Jehoiakim, the king of Judah, in the 12th month of the 27th day of the month, that Evil-Merodach, king of Babylon, in the year that he became king, released Jehoiakim, king of Judah, from prison. Now, there are a couple of items here that we need to remember. Remember, this is Jehoiakim. Jehoiakim is the son of Jehoiakim. Now, that's a slight difference in the naming or the title. But we do realize that after Jehoiakim died, Jehoiakim came in to replace the father, but only for a very brief moment of 3 months. Nebuchadnezzar then took him into exile into Babylon. And it says here in the 37th year of that incarceration in Babylon, in the 12th month on the 27th day. Now, the 27th day is kind of important in that sense because it apparently suggests that would be the day that Nebuchadnezzar had died. Now, according to Jeremiah, in Jeremiah chapter 52, verse 31, we have Nebuchadnezzar dying in the 25th day. Now, according to Jewish traditions, we read in the book of Daniel, chapter 4, there was a period of time when Nebuchadnezzar had a very strange illness and he was indisposed. And apparently, one of his sons, also by the name of Evil-Merodach, these are all titles, by the way, took the throne. And when Nebuchadnezzar came back, he was upset with him and got him killed. Now, Evil-Merodach, the other brother, noticed that, yes, the king has died, and he died on the 25th day. He dismembered the father, to make sure that he would not come back, like in Daniel chapter 4. And that was according to tradition, anyways. And so on the 27th day, being a safe time, he was declared king, and he released Jehoiakim, the king of Judah, from prison. So notice he had released one person here, at least we know of, Jehoiakim, who was already incarcerated for the 37th year. Now, we know also from tradition that Jehoiakim is supposed to be childless. And we read this in Jeremiah chapter 22 and in verse 30. He was, well, I suppose you can call it accursed of God because of the evil that he had done, that he would be childless. According to tradition, in the 37 years that he was in Babylon, sometime during that, he repented. And God blessed him with a family, meaning he had a son. And his son also had a son. And this son, his grandson, is called Zerubbabel. Now, I guess we all know this Zerubbabel because he appears in the book of Haggai, as well as in Ezra and Nehemiah. He became the governor of Jerusalem. Now, notice he's not the king of Judah. Jehoiakim is known as the king of Judah, but not his grandson. His grandson is merely the governor. And so we have this tradition that came forth from the Jewish oral passing down of the stories. I want also to alert you that there is another king. The second king that is not mentioned here, which is also from the oral tradition, is Zedekiah. Zedekiah was also incarcerated, brought to Babylon by King Nebuchadnezzar, remember? And he was blinded, his eyes gorged out. And when he was released, he died the next day. And according to tradition, he was mourned and remembered as a king, just as God had said. Now, we don't read of anything about Zedekiah now from verse 27 onwards because the focus is on Jehoiakim. He was the only one that remained alive after Nebuchadnezzar had died. Zedekiah died the next day he was released. So two kings were released, one died, one remained. And so Jehoiakim, having repented, was blessed by God to have a son and a grandson, eventually Zerubbabel. So now we read a little bit more about what happened to Jehoiakim. Verse 28 says this, and then he, that is Evil-Merodach, spoke kindly to him. Now, all of these is a bit of a problem in the translation. Spoke well, spoke good regarding Jehoiakim. That's the person that we're talking about. And then it says here that he set his throne above the throne of the kings who were with him in Babylon. Now, I want to highlight that this is not throne, this is a seat. There's only one throne for the king. When he talks about the king in exile, these are all seats. They were recognized by Evil-Merodach and honored as king, unlike Nebuchadnezzar that just put them all into prison. Now, amongst all the kings who were there, Evil-Merodach treated Jehoiakim the best. And hence, it is said that he set his seat above all the kings. Now, it doesn't mean that he sat at the table of the king, but he sat together with everyone, because Evil-Merodach had honored the royalties that his father had captured. In verse 29, it says here, Jehoiakim changed his prison clothes to normal clothes, ate his meals in the king's presence continually his entire life. This is the word continually. Now, what does that mean? It means that the king Evil-Merodach really honored all the kings that were captured, but the territory was still kept by Babylon. A very important aspect that we need to bear in mind is this, that when Nebuchadnezzar died, Nebuchadnezzar had reigned for 44 years. Now, according to Jeremiah in chapter 25, the people of Judah will be in exile in Babylon for 70 years. So there will be at least another 20 plus years to go. And so Jehoiakim had to stay in Babylon. And we are also told here, and then, we have this and then, his allowance, a regular allowance, this is not money given to him, but more so his meals. His meal, not allowance. If you want to call it allowance, it would be the food that was allocated to him and his family, was given to him by the king every day, a portion, all the days of his life. And chapter 25 ends the history of the kingdom of Judah on a slightly positive note. They were all in exile. Whoever was in Jerusalem ran away to Egypt and eventually was also killed by King Nebuchadnezzar. And now at the end of the life of Nebuchadnezzar, fast forward 44 years down the road, Jehoiakim was released and was remembered. Now, this is quite astounding, because when we begin to read in Jeremiah 22, we would have thought that that would be the end of the story of Jehoiakim, that he was accursed, he was childless. And then according to 2 Kings chapter 25, he was released. He's the only one called the king of Judah that is still alive, because Zedekiah would have died according to traditions. And so the traditional way of understanding Jehoiakim was that his repentance brought him blessing, and the blessing is described in verses 28 to 30. And the kingdom of Judah, though it is no longer, the temple burned down, the walls of Jerusalem destroyed, the king of Judah went into exile into Babylon. King Nebuchadnezzar died. Zedekiah died the day after he was released. Jehoiakim was the only so-called king of Judah left standing at this time. That is the note that we're told. Now, in the book of 2 Chronicles chapter 36, also recording the end of the kingdom, it talks about the return to the land, because 2 Chronicles was written after they came back to the land in the period of Ezra. And so that's the difference we have in the book of Kings going into Babylon, and Chronicles having come back from Babylon. And with this, we come to the end of the book of 2 Kings.